Hi, everybody. We are going to talk about April. In the planetary configurations, this is a once in a lifetime, a long-term event or events that is involving all the planets out there and points. So I work with 14 different planets and points, and I'm going to share the screen so you could see what that means for you. So in order to get prepared and see how is this going to affect you, get your natal chart out so you could see where these planets are going to be impacting your natal chart. And I'm going to show you an example of how it impacts a natal chart just so you could see for yourself. So this is what the sky looks like right now. And what you need to understand is that all this traffic jam is in one area. And we have Saturn, Venus, Mercury, North Node, Neptune, Sun, and Chiron. Okay? And it's opposite or opposing Black Moon, Lilith, and the South Node. And it's also involving Pluto, which is opposite Mars, and Neptune is square right to the moon right now, and Uranus and Neptune and Pluto have a grand sextile. Plus we have Jupiter, sesquiquadrant Pluto. So what does that mean? It means one thing. All the players are involved, every single one of them. And this is major. We've never seen this before in history, in human history. So what you need to know from me is this, just to simplify the whole thing, okay? You need to understand that your natal chart is important because you need to know where all the planets and points were at the moment that you were born. Why? Because right now, if any one of these planets impact something in your natal chart, that means that all the planets in the sky right now are impacting your natal chart. Every single one of them. There's 14 points. That's why everybody's calling me up, and it's extremely busy here. And instead of having this report out at the end of March, here we are, 4/4/25. And I'm late. So it's intense. That's all I could say. What does this mean? We have to look at the big picture first, okay? So I'm going to look at my notes so you could see what planets are going to be impacting for the whole month, because the moon changes by the day. Every 2 or 3 days, it changes signs. Right now, it's in Cancer. When we started the month, it was in Taurus. And every 2 or 3 days, it changes signs. You can see the moon travels counterclockwise all around for the whole month. So the moon is the emotions, feelings, and that's, they fluctuate. But what we need to really look at right now for the upcoming month are the outer planets, which is Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. Now, Pluto was the first slow-moving, very impactful, pronounced planet that cycles around this whole zodiac in 250 years, let's say, just to round it up. And it will stay in the sign of Aquarius for about 20, 21 years, okay? Then the next planet that's the second slowest for 165 days to go around the whole chart, is Neptune. But look here, we always have to look at degrees. It just moved from Pisces, its ruling sign, to Aries. It's a completely different energy, a completely brand new cycle. It's like a new year, okay? So what does that mean? Well, it's sextile. These are opportunities, and there's support between Neptune and Pluto. And I'll get into the definitions in a minute, but you just have to, or a few minutes, you just have to understand that Neptune and Pluto are in alignment for opportunity, for support, and this is positive. However, there's one more player here that also offers opportunity, and that is Uranus, because it's still got a few more degrees to be exact, 0 in Gemini, and that will make it another sextile. That's called, so we're in a grand sextile. There are 3 sextiles involved with the 3 outermost planets in the zodiac. So they're all going to be working together between 10 and 20 years. That's long term. So you may as well get used to it. So they've all shifted gears. Pluto's shifted gears already. We already felt that, because this was happening during the onset or during the COVID situation, okay? When this was changing signs, Pluto. Now we have Neptune changing signs in the middle of a new presidency, just things that have never been done before are being done. And it also has to do with spirituality and the invisible world. And then we have to add Uranus in, which is new inventions, innovative times, awakening, scientific innovations again, the onset of AI. And that's in Taurus still. And we've had a lot of earthquakes and a lot of weather situations because Uranus is sudden, shocking, unexpected. Taurus has to do with Earth. But that Uranus will be moving into Gemini, okay? So they're all working together in a very unique way. The last time that we came close to having any configuration like this was in ancient times during the golden age of Greece with Socrates, Plato, the great thinkers, philosophers, mathematicians of our time. So we may have, and I believe we're going to have, a renaissance of this kind of thinking. And it will be very enlightening. It will be very positive because we're not dealing with a lot of squares. We're dealing with sextiles, which have to do with support, with opportunities, okay? But we have to take action. But if you take action, it will be an opportunity, and it will be a good one, okay? So let's look and see what else is going on. Let's look at, we have the stellium here, because the stellium by definition is a group of planets or points that are within 30 degrees, and they're split up between Pisces energy and Aries energy. So it's about limitless selflessness to selfishness. And right now, we have 2 planets retrograde. As we speak, we have Mercury and Venus retrograde, but they'll be going direct. And so it's a time to not take so much action on signing contracts and getting engaged or maybe getting a new job or whatever that has to do with money, food, communication. But once this goes direct, then you have contemplated, because when we're in retrograde, it's a time to contemplate, to review, to rethink, to rehash. And the same thing happened with Mars. Mars just turned direct. And so whenever planets go retrograde and direct, it means they stay longer in a sign, because they move forward a little bit, they move backwards a little bit, and they move forward a little bit instead of just going direct. If Mars goes direct, it might stay in a sign for what, a year or something. I mean, not even. But because it's been retrograding and moving forward, it stayed in Cancer, Gemini Cancer, for a long time, longer than usual. So as we speak now, we have all these planets in a row, starting with Saturn and ending with Chiron. Okay? So right now, we have responsibilities with money, with our food, with our loved ones, in a very spiritual way. We might feel isolated or want to be in isolation or seclusion, all right? And our thinking, we may want to just go by ourselves and think this through. Also, our purpose is on the line as well. So what is our spiritual purpose now that Neptune has moved into Aries? It's about self and spiritually to take care of yourself. Now, the sun is moving towards Chiron. It is conjunct, which means that there's going to be a lot of self-healing for the whole world. Okay, because we haven't compared it to your natal chart yet. Okay, so that is a lot of energy. And then we're going to see how this is going to affect your natal chart. So for the whole month, we have Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will be sextile to one another, number one. Then we're going to have Chiron, Neptune, and they'll be conjunct the whole month. All right? And then we have Neptune will be conjunct Venus the whole month, the North Node, and Saturn. And what's interesting is that Venus will go all the way to 29 degrees of Pisces, making it very critical and making it very urgent. And then, so we'll go retrograde and then direct to 29 degrees for the whole month. And then Uranus is going to, the whole month, be sextile Saturn, which is right here. See, it's 24 degrees Taurus, 24 degrees Pisces. Exact. And also, we have that energy trine Mars, which means whenever you have Saturn, Mars, Pluto, Uranus in the same arena, you got, I'm not going to say trouble, but it's going to be exciting. So, if you watch any kind of wrestling or sports event or a fight, and there's competition, because Mars is action, competition, it's war, battles. Uranus is sudden, shocking, all right? And Pluto is transformational, all right? Someone is going to lose when there's a battle, and someone's going to win. So we have a lot of lineups here for the whole month of Saturn, Neptune, Venus, and North Node are going to stick together for the whole month. And that's called a stellium as well, or a triple conjunction because they're so close together. So that is very impactful. It's very strong energy. That's why you're feeling it right now. And Saturn has to do with negative thinking, but it also has to do with setting boundaries and building blocks or stumbling blocks, responsibility, duty, discipline. And it's something that you cannot avoid. Just like if you have a Saturn return, you have to grow up. You're in the middle now of a lake. You can't say, well, I quit. No, you're in the middle of the lake. You have to go either one side or the other side. But whichever side you choose, there's a lot of work involved. That's Saturn. And you have to have discipline. You have to move forward. It's also reality. It's karma. It's time. It's the elder. It's wisdom. Because through that, you get wisdom. Okay? And then we have Venus, which represents money, love, what we buy with our money. We love what we love. We also have Mercury, which has to do with our thinking, our communication, teaching, training. And it's all connected with our purpose. And the planet Neptune has to do with spirituality, limitless, the invisible world, things that we cannot see with the naked eye. So that would be like anything microscopic, or even out in the cosmos, unless you have like a telescope to aid to see, it's the invisible world. Okay, it's also escapism and music that helps us escape, drugs, meditation, alcohol, dance. All these things help us escape. It's also victimization. So be careful not to put yourself in the spot of being the victim. You do have control, but don't let that negative thinking change who you are. Okay? And it's making contact with Black Moon Lilith, which is the hidden sides of your emotions that you may not even be aware of. But it's also the very powerful side of you, the impersonal side of you. It's like, just get out of my way. I got to do this. But sometimes it's shadowy emotions, negative emotions that we don't want to face or talk about too. But sometimes if you go through something horrific, it does make you a stronger person. So Black Moon Lilith in relationships, letting go of criticism, self-criticism, and working on spirituality is what we need to do here. Okay? There is a greater being out there, or creator, that's invisible, but we know it's there. And in the middle of all that, we have to see that there is a mystical rectangle, which is another powerful pattern with Pluto, the most powerful planet in the zodiac astrology chart, with the South Node and with Mars, which is all about action. Mars is a trigger on the gun. Without Mars, things may not happen, but when Mars gets in there, it's like, boom, you pull the trigger. And then it makes impact with, it flows to 4 planets here: Saturn, Venus, Mercury, and the North Node, your purpose. Maybe 5. So I hope you're getting the picture. There's a lot going on. And then all this news, see, Jupiter is abundance, manifestation, but we're getting news now. Everybody's getting exposed to this news, which makes you do something because it's transformative. We're never going to be the same again after we find out this news. It's irreversible changes. And it's flowing right into Black Moon Lilith with relationships. So it's a heated time. It's a volatile time. It's very crazy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to give it a pause. And we're going to look at, actually, I should be able to do this seamlessly. And hopefully, we're going to look at the charts and we're going to compare this to, okay, hopefully everybody's seeing this. And so here we go. With this chart here, so let's pick one area. So which area are you going to pick? You want to pick anything close to the angles of the chart. All righty? So as an astrologer, you know that anything close to this line is, I'd say within 5-10 degrees, is going to be very impactful for this person. So Pluto, irreversible changes, is approaching the root of the chart, the home life, ancestry, okay? Things are going to change over here in the home life, and they're never going to be the same again. So that's very broad brush, but it has to do with independence and freedom and friendships, a community. However, look at over here. Now, this house over here is the house of relationships, and we have Uranus, which is in Taurus. And remember, it's sudden, shocking, unexpected, exciting energy with relationships. But what did I say before? If one planet is impacting this person's chart, all the planets are. So we have a stronger emphasis with Pluto. So that means the home life, career, profession is impacting this person very strongly. Then we have huge impact in relationships, one-on-one relationships and partnerships, along with everything else. So that's 2 right there. And then all this is being impacted because, as I said before, what's happening for the whole month is affecting this person, not just in the home life, but in the relationship side. Also, we have Jupiter in Gemini that is affecting this person very personally, with the way they think, with their teaching, their training, whatever they're doing, with their shared resources. They could be, they're in the manifest mode. But don't forget what I showed before with all the other planets being involved with each other. So this chart and this person is feeling it in so many different directions. And not only that, the moon is going to trigger the whole chart step by step for the whole month. So the emotions are going to be up and down the whole month for this individual. And Mars now, the action planet, the aggression planet, busy planet, is impacting sudden, exciting, and unexpected changes, but it's also freedom. All right. So that's another thing. And I hope you're getting the message. So if in your chart you have just one thing, like Pluto impacting, let's say, your sun, if you're an Aquarius in the early degrees, all this is going to affect you personally. This person is being affected very personally, but in a positive, joyful way. They're choosing, hopefully, to be positive in their thinking and their speaking. Okay. So it's just a crazy time, but it's an amazing time. And letting go of criticism is a big deal for this person. And this fifth house is activated, and the fifth house represents children, romance, and creativity. Good time for these people, this person, to be creative. Okay? And that's what we do when we look at your astrology chart. Okay? So even the part of fortune and, the home life part of the chart, your roots, is impacting this person's responsibility. So they have some responsibilities that have to do with the family and the home. Okay. And on the ascendant here, this, we have to watch out for self-criticism, but getting all the details, all the small details lined up. So this is moving through and past their natal Jupiter and Pluto. So a forecast is nothing more than like a weather forecast. It doesn't mean that everything in this chart is going to dictate what's going to happen to this person. It just means that there's a possibility of a storm, there's a possibility of snow, rain, sleet, hail, whatever it may be. And the way the lineup is in the sky, it's everything. So what do you do when there's a weather forecast? You get prepared. You bring your umbrella, you bring your boots, you bring your raincoat, you bring a hat. You bring everything that you may possibly need for the weather. And that way you're prepared. So astrology forecasting is to prepare you, but this person that this chart, natal chart, belongs to would be having a conversation with me, and I'd say, well, what's going on in your world of communication? What's expanding? Okay. And in career, this area here, I don't want to miss anything, but there's a lot going on. You have profession, career in teaching, training, communicating, publishing books. That's this person's purpose is the big picture: publishing, higher learning, teaching on a like university type professor, right? So it just goes on and on and on. And then when they say, well, I'm interested in my relationships, well, and then we would look here and say, well, there's some sudden, unexpected changes, possibly with your resources, freedom, independence. So it could be that someone's helping this person with data, information, whatever the case may be, because it's very unique. These are just energies and frequencies. Astrology is a language. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and we'll get to you. So the full moon is going to be on the 12th. We'll go back. I just wanted you to see how this works out with a natal chart. Like, why are we talking about the sky now? Because all these planets impacted this person's natal chart, right? Inside here. So it's like triggering lots of different areas of life with lots of different energies. It's complicated, but it makes sense. But what you need to understand, depending on your level of knowledge, is that all the planets are involved. Every single one. You see, they all are connected. It's either flowing or there's a need to balance. There's a little bit of work involved here. Not a lot of squares, which means work, conflict, but there's opportunities. There's support here, lots of support, and a lot of flowing energies, transformational energies. And we have one quintile, which has to do with divinely orchestrated energy, and a couple of quintiles, which have to do with this little obsession, maybe just getting more and more and more information. But most of it is blue, and that's different too. Usually we don't have that. So you want to know when the full moon is. It's on the 12th, and we'll just move it here to the 12th. And you could see that the full moon is when the sun and the moon are opposite each other, exact, but I'm not going to waste time to get it exact, but it will be at 23 degrees Libra. So there's going to be a need to balance between yourself and relationships, and about people pleasing versus taking care of yourself. Okay. There's a need to balance, and you might need to negotiate and that kind of energy. But Libra is all about love, peace, harmony. They don't like confrontation. And Aries is the opposite. They'll confront you because it's all about being courageous and bold. Could be a little obnoxious. But with this full moon, you know, if anything, you're going to learn one thing. The sky is filled with lots of other planets. And again, they are talking to one another this whole time. So Chiron, the planets of the planet, it's really an asteroid, has to do with healing. Healing from trauma, usually childhood trauma. And so there's an opposition there with this full moon, amongst all the other things that we talked about that are going on the whole month. Okay. So this full moon is going to be powerful. So stay cool, stay calm, stay collected, go out in nature, breathe, ring the Tibetan bell, and clear your space. And for all those that are clients of mine, make sure that you go into our free Zoom, the Metaphysical Astrology Lab. We'll be talking about imprints and the dangers of imprints and how they could affect our lives in a not so flattering way. And the new moon is going to be towards the end of the month. Let me see here with these crazy notes because we got a lot going on. So the new moon is, well, let's look at the end of the month. That's when there's going to be the new moon, and that's when they're together. The sun and the moon are together. Okay, so here it comes, and that will be April 27th, 26th, 27th, okay? Eastern time, of course. So, actually, now this new moon, the new moon is about setting intentions, okay? Starting new projects. What do you want to see happen in the next month or the next year? Start it up because it could create some sudden and unexpected changes because it's very close to the energy of Uranus, which is part of the grand sextile with Neptune and Pluto. So activate this new moon at the end of the month, and the full moon is when you release and you let it go. But the new moon is when you take your journal out and you set your intentions. And so it's working together with the Aries Pisces energy. And now Mars also, will switch signs. And we'll talk about that for a minute. So the new moon and the full moon are very important. Okay. And we talked about that mystical rectangle. That mystical rectangle is between April 1st to the 24th. And you see there's a rectangle here. And that has to do with spiritual, constructive use of natural talents. But it has a spiritual transformative note. And this is for everybody. So look and see if you have any planets in your natal chart with any of these planets around on the astrology chart for this month, okay, as we go through. So let's go back. And I told you there's so much going on. So if this is overwhelming and you want to know how this impacts your natal chart, call your astrologer. If you don't have one, you're more than welcome to use me. My links are in my bio here on YouTube. And if you want to learn astrology, we're in the planets phase now. We do one class a month, and it's very structured. It's about an hour and a half. It's live on Zoom. And then when we get into aspects, you're going to have to take a test. If you can't pass the test, you cannot take the class because you missed a good portion of the foundational building blocks of astrology. So we can't hold up the class because you don't know what we're talking about. And, it's a language. I'm not going to expect you to write a sentence if you don't know what the alphabet is. And that's the way it goes. So let's look and see here. We got some ingresses here, which is planets are changing signs. Okay. So what does that mean? That means that Jupiter is right over here. It's Gemini, but it's going to enter Cancer in July. And it will be moving through Gemini this month, but in July it will enter Cancer. So right now we have an overabundance of communication. Then we have Saturn in 29, which will be approaching 29 degrees. That's going to be 29 degrees May next month. And so these slower moving planets, because Saturn and Jupiter are slow moving, not as slow as Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. However, they're social planets. So we're feeling the impact right now as they shift gears. Okay. And then, so Uranus now is in Taurus, but it's going to move into Gemini, and that will be in July through November. Okay. But remember, when these planets are at the end of a sign, they're moving forward. They go into the next sign, but then they'll go back retrograde, go back to the old sign, and then they'll move forward. So you have like a 1-2 punch. So, excuse me, these planets, I'm going to pause. So Mercury is going to go direct, and it'll be a good time to put all those thoughts in action. And Venus is going to go direct on the 13th. So all systems go on money, love, but it will be very reserved because of Saturn. All right, you may feel that. You should be feeling it. And then it will be conjunct Saturn, which will make you guys more conservative. And with this economy, of course, everybody's going to be more conservative in their spending and their thinking. And, what are we going to do? Let's put some boundaries up. We got to slow down. And, it's also spiritual. What you do with your money, how you spend it. Well, I'm going to say something about consumerism. In this day and age, we complain about the economy. We complain that we don't have enough money. But have you looked around in your house to see the overabundance of things that you have? I'm guilty myself. Okay, we consolidated, 2 homes into one, 2 people under one roof, 3 people under one roof, and we were all independent. So we might have 3 or 4 can openers. We might have, just excess on supplies and things that we really don't need a lot of, and multiples of different things, So it's how we spend our money that is the issue. And how much do you really need, especially like all these subscriptions? How many subscriptions of things do you have that you don't even use? And that's so wasteful. Okay. So we are hyper consumers of the variety of things. I'm old, and back in the day, you had 2 or 3 deodorants to choose from. Go to the store and see how many deodorants, just feminine, don't even go to the male side. And even Old Spice. My father used to use Old Spice. It was just one Old Spice. There's about 20 different Old Spices. Okay? Deodorants and that, but the fragrances. And cereals. How many cereal companies? How many cereal types? One is better than the other. So it's overload. And eventually we're going to level out and get more balance, because right now we're out of balance. And you should be feeling that. And we're finding now that too much of a wonderful thing is not so wonderful, because the more you have, the more responsibility you have, the more you have to take care of, the more you have to maintain, the more you have to clean. And there's nothing worse than cleaning a cluttered house. I try to have a rule, no more than 3 things on a horizontal surface. That's been a struggle, but that's what I like. If it's got that nice lean look, that minimal look. Can I live that way? No, but I like the way it looks. All right. So that's something to consider. And if you have any questions and you need me, contact me, and I'm more than happy to help you. And stay safe. I love you all. Have a great rest of the day. I'm going to stop the share here. And you take care. Bye-bye.